Hey guys, tonight we're stepping back in time, way back, to the bustling, ancient heart of the Byzantine Empire, Constantinople. Imagine the year is, say, 950 AD. The city hums with life, a vibrant tapestry of cultures, languages, and ideas, all swirling around one of the greatest intellectual centers of the known world. You, my friend, are about to inhabit the very worn sandals of a Byzantine librarian. Forget your cozy, climate-controlled digital archives. This is a world of parchment, quill, and the faint, sweet scent of old paper and beeswax. It's a demanding, meticulous existence, a quiet guardianship of knowledge in an age where information was precious beyond measure. You probably won't survive this intellectually, let alone physically, without some serious mental fortitude. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You feel the first faint stirrings of dawn, a subtle shift in the air, even before the sun crests the horizon. Your small, rented room in the shadow of the great palace is still cool, the lingering chill of the night seeping through the rough-hewn stone walls. The sounds of Constantinople, usually a cacophony, are muted for now. The distant bray of a donkey, the soft creak of a cart beginning its rounds, the chirping of sparrows nesting in the eaves. You're not quite ready to open your eyes, your mind still drifting in that hazy space between sleep and wakefulness, a place where the intricate patterns of the manuscripts you handle daily sometimes dance behind your eyelids. There's a faint ache in your fingers, a familiar companion from yesterday's hours, spent hunched over a desk, meticulously copying the words of ancient philosophers or theological treatises. It's a dull throb, a testament to your dedication, or perhaps just a reminder that even the most sedentary professions have their physical tolls. You stretch, a slow, deliberate movement, feeling your spine pop a little and pull the rough wool blanket closer for just another moment. The quality of your sleep. Historians still argue whether it was truly restorative, given the constant threat of urban noise and, let's be honest, the bedbugs. Remember that crocodile dung sunscreen we talked about in another episode? Well, Byzantine hygiene was a journey. You sigh, a soft puff of air in the quiet room. The day awaits, and with it the solemn duty of preserving the collected wisdom of centuries. You can almost feel the weight of it, not as a burden, but as a sacred trust, a lineage stretching back to the great libraries of Alexandria and Pergamon. This isn't just a job, it's a quiet vigil against the relentless tide of oblivion. And speaking of oblivion, you realize you forgot to extinguish your oil lamp completely last night. Just a tiny wisp of smoke still curls from the wick. Oops. Better get up before you accidentally carbon date your ceiling. The cool morning air nips at your exposed skin as you finally push yourself upright. Your room, sparsely furnished, offers little in the way of luxury, but it serves its purpose. A small wooden chest at the foot of your cot holds your meagre belongings, a few tunics, a pair of spare sandals, and a well-worn leather satchel that you'll soon fill with your daily essentials. You reach for a simple ceramic pitcher, its surface rough against your fingers, and pour cool water into a basin. Splashing it over your face, the sudden chill is invigorating, chasing away the last wisps of sleep. You run a hand over your short-cropped hair, a style favoured for its practicality. No need for elaborate coiffures when your day involves leaning over dusty tomes. Your attire is simple, befitting your station. You pull on a plain wool tunic, its colour a muted, undyed beige, cinched at the waist with a rope belt. Over this, you don a slightly heavier cloaked garment, necessary for the chill of the early morning and the often unheated library. Practicality is paramount. There are no fashion statements to be made here, only comfort and utility. You check your sandals, ensuring the leather straps are secure. A loose strap could mean a stumble, and a stumble in the library could mean disaster for a priceless manuscript, a thought that sends a tiny shiver down your spine even now. You often wonder, glancing at your reflection in a tiny polished bronze disc that serves as a mirror, how much your face has changed since you first started this work. Perhaps a few more lines around the eyes from squinting at faded script, a slight stoop in your shoulders from countless hours bent over a desk. Next, you prepare your provisions for the day. From a small earthenware pot, you scoop out a portion of porridge, perhaps made from barley or millet, mixed with a little honey for sweetness. You eat it slowly, savouring the simple nourishment. This isn't a leisurely breakfast, it's fuel. You might also chew on a piece of dried fruit, a fig or a date, a small luxury to ward off hunger until midday. You then fetch your writing implements, a selection of carefully sharpened quills, probably goose feathers, and a small stoppered vial of ink, rich black and still smelling faintly of oak galls and iron salts. This ink, so vital to your profession, is itself a minor marvel of ancient chemistry. You tuck these into a protective leather roll, along with a small sharpened knife for trimming your quills and a pumice stone for smoothing parchment. Historians still argue whether the precise composition of Byzantine ink contributed to the longevity of their manuscripts, but you simply know it works. You even have a small soft cloth for wiping errant smudges. After all, nobody wants a manuscript that looks like it's been finger-painted by a toddler. That would be just, well, un-Byzantine. As you gather your things, you can already hear the city outside your window beginning to hum with greater intensity. The faint clatter of hooves on cobblestones, the distant cries of street vendors, the murmur of voices rising with the sun. Soon the narrow streets will be teeming with life, and you need to navigate them before they become impassable. You take one last look around your humble room, ensuring everything is in its place. The routine brings a certain comfort, a quiet assurance in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain. It's a small, personal ritual preparing your mind and body for the intellectual labours ahead. You secure the simple wooden door behind you with a well-worn leather strap and step out into the nascent light of the Byzantine morning. Stepping out into the nascent light, you're immediately enveloped by the cool, crisp air of the early Byzantine morning. The narrow lane outside your dwelling, still damp from the night, echoes with the distant sounds of the waking city. You begin your walk, your sandals making soft, rhythmic thuds on the uneven cobblestones. The path is familiar, worn smooth by countless footsteps over centuries, a testament to the enduring rhythm of Constantinople life. The houses around you are still largely shuttered, their residents either asleep or just beginning their own morning rituals, but you can already smell the faint, tantalizing aroma of baking bread wafting from a nearby bakery, a common and comforting scent throughout the city. It's a sensory experience that always reminds you that even in a city of grand monuments and intellectual pursuits, the simple necessities of life continue. You navigate the labyrinthine alleys, a complex web of streets that seems to defy any logical planning, yet somehow you always find your way. This is your daily commute, a morning dance through a city that is simultaneously ancient and vibrant. You pass by small private chapels, their doors still closed, but you can almost hear the quiet prayers of the devout within. The occasional lamp still flickers in a window, casting a warm, inviting glow onto the street. You might nod briefly to a fellow early riser, perhaps a baker heading to his oven, or a merchant setting up his stall, a silent acknowledgement of shared purpose in the quiet hours before the city fully roars to life. Historians still argue about the exact layout of every street in Byzantine Constantinople, but you know your way blindfolded, a testament to countless years of traversing these very paths. It's a bit like navigating your modern-day social media feed. Once you get the hang of it, it's second nature, even if it feels chaotic to outsiders. As you approach the busier thoroughfares, the sounds grow louder. The clip-clop of donkeys laden with goods, the rumbling of ox carts, the chatter of early market-goers haggling over prices even before dawn truly breaks. You might dodge a small flock of chickens scratching in the dust, or step around a puddle of unknown origin. Best not to dwell on that. The air fills with a richer tapestry of smells, fresh produce, the earthy scent of the markets, and the ever-present hint of the sea. You catch a glimpse of the great walls of Constantinople towering majestically in the distance, their formidable stones standing as a silent testament to the city's enduring strength and history. They've repelled countless invaders, much like your inner peace repels the urgent whispers of deadlines and demanding scholars. You chuckle quietly to yourself. Even the most stoic librarian needs a moment of levity. The light continues to strengthen, painting the sky with soft hues of pink and gold. The Golden Horn, the natural harbour that cradles the city, begins to shimmer in the nascent sunlight. Small fishing boats are already heading out, their sails catching the morning breeze, tiny specks against the vast expanse of water. You pass by stately mansions, their courtyards still quiet, hidden behind high walls. These are the homes of the city's elite, senators, generals, wealthy merchants, whose lives intersect with yours only when they or their scribes request a rare volume from the imperial library. You're a guardian of their knowledge, a silent servant to the pursuit of wisdom that transcends social status. The journey, though repetitive, is never truly boring. There's always a new detail to observe, a new sound to hear, a new story unfolding in the quiet corners of this ancient metropolis. You reach a wider street, and the grand structure of the Imperial Library begins to loom into view, its impressive facade promising another day of diligent, quiet work. As you turn the final corner, the full grandeur of the Imperial Library reveals itself, bathed in the soft, growing light of the morning. It's an imposing structure, built of sturdy, dressed stone, its facade adorned with intricate carvings that depict scenes of classical learning and figures of great philosophers and scholars. You pause for a moment, as you do every day, to simply take it in. This isn't just a building, it's a testament to the Byzantine Empire's profound respect for knowledge, a repository of human wisdom stretching back through millennia. The main entrance, a grand archway, is flanked by two towering columns, their capitals intricately carved with acanthus leaves, reflecting the enduring influence of ancient Greek and Roman architectural styles. It's a bit like seeing a massive, ancient, intellectual fortress, not for keeping people out, but for keeping knowledge in, safe from the ravages of time, neglect, and, well, accidental coffee spills, if they'd had coffee, of course. The windows, high and narrow, are designed to let in ample natural light without exposing the precious manuscripts within to the direct, harsh glare of the sun. You can imagine the carefully controlled environment inside, a constant battle against dust, damp, and the ever-present threat of insects. This building isn't just a pretty face, It's a meticulously designed vault for the Empire's most valuable treasures, its books. Historians still argue about the exact internal layout of some parts of the Imperial Library, much like they debate the proper way to organise a modern digital archive. Do you go by subject, by author, by the last time it was used? It's a timeless problem, it seems. You notice the quiet presence of the librarian's guard, a small detachment of Imperial soldiers stationed near the entrance. Their presence is a stark reminder of the immense value placed on the library's contents. These aren't just books, they are the intellectual lifeblood of the Empire, containing everything from ancient Greek tragedies to detailed military strategies, from medical texts to theological debates. A single fire, a careless invader, or even a determined book thief could erase centuries of thought. So, the guards are a necessary, if sometimes intimidating, part of the daily landscape. You exchange a brief, respectful nod with the sentinel on duty, his polished armour gleaming faintly in the increasing light. He's probably dreaming of a hot breakfast, or perhaps a nice, quiet game of dice, but his gaze remains fixed and alert. The sheer scale of the building is humbling. You know that within these walls are countless thousands of scrolls and codices, filling multiple levels, a veritable forest of knowledge. Imagine trying to find a specific PDF if your entire internet was made of physical, hand-copied scrolls. That's your daily challenge, in a nutshell. The stone of the facade, worn smooth in places by centuries of wind and rain, feels cool and solid under your fingertips as you approach the grand entrance. There's a sense of permanence, of enduring purpose, emanating from the very stones. It's a feeling that resonates deep within you, reinforcing the quiet pride you take in your profession. This is where you spend your days, in the heart of intellectual preservation, a silent guardian of the past for the future. The weight of that responsibility, though heavy, is also a profound privilege. You reach the imposing wooden doors, ready to begin your day. You stand before the grand wooden doors of the Imperial Library, massive slabs of ancient oak, studded with heavy iron bands and rivets. They seem to absorb the morning light rather than reflect it, hinting at the cool, quiet darkness within. Reaching into a small pouch on your belt, you retrieve a set of heavy, clanking iron keys. They're surprisingly cold in your palm, each one a unique shape, crafted for a specific lock. This isn't some flimsy modern lock and key system. These are serious medieval security devices, designed to deter even the most determined of nocturnal manuscript enthusiasts. You select the largest key, its teeth intricate and complex, a miniature work of art in itself, and slide it into the main lock. With a grunt of effort, you turn the key. There's a satisfying deep thunk as the tumblers engage, followed by the heavy clunk of the bolt retracting. It's a sound that reverberates through the quiet courtyard, a signal that the day for the library has truly begun. You repeat the process with a smaller secondary lock, just as intricate, just as stubborn. Each click and groan of the mechanisms feels deliberate, ancient, a ritual performed countless times over centuries by generations of librarians just like you. It's a bit like trying to open a particularly stubborn pickle jar, but with far higher stakes. Imagine if the jar contained the secret to perpetual motion. You push on the right-hand door first. It's heavy, incredibly heavy, requiring a good deal of your weight to get it to budge. The hinges, though well-oiled, still emit a deep, resonating creak that echoes into the cavernous interior. The air inside is immediately cooler, carrying the distinctive scent of old parchment, dust, and something else. Something indefinable. Perhaps the accumulated wisdom of ages, or maybe just the lingering aroma of beeswax from last week's polishing. As the door slowly swings inward, a sliver of darkness gives way to the faint, ethereal glow of the rising sun filtering through the high windows, illuminating motes of dust dancing in the air. As you step inside, the sense of quiet reverence is immediate and profound. The building seems to breathe, its vast spaces waiting to be filled with the quiet rustle of parchment and the soft murmur of scholarly pursuit. You carefully latch the heavy doors open, securing them with a wooden wedge to allow the maximum amount of natural light to penetrate the main hall. You make a mental note to yourself. One of the hinges sounded a bit rough today. Perhaps a bit more oil is needed. These subtle sounds and observations are part of your daily rhythm, small details that contribute to the smooth operation and preservation of this invaluable institution. Historians still argue about the precise techniques Byzantine librarians used for hinge maintenance, but you just know what works. And you certainly don't want a squeaky door interrupting a deep philosophical thought. That would be just plain rude. The act of unlocking the library isn't just a physical task, it's a symbolic one. You are the gatekeeper, the first one in, the one who awakens this sleeping giant of knowledge. It's a responsibility you embrace with quiet dignity, a humble steward of the intellectual legacy of an empire. You stand for a moment in the threshold, letting your eyes adjust to the dim light, preparing for the day's first tasks. The cool, silent air of the library envelops you as you step fully inside. Your first task of the day, even before the scholars arrive, is to prepare the space itself. You walk through the vast main hall, your footsteps echoing softly on the polished marble floor. High above, the sunlight, still gentle, streams through the narrow windows, illuminating the intricate patterns of the mosaic ceiling, a vibrant depiction of ancient muses and scenes of scholarly pursuit. These are the details you notice every day, a silent testament to the artistry that went into this place. Your eyes immediately begin their sweep, a trained observation for anything amiss. First, the dust. It's an inevitable enemy in any library, but especially in one filled with delicate parchment. You head to the designated storage areas, retrieving long-handled feather dusters made from the softest plumes and a selection of cloths. You systematically work your way through the reading alcoves, running the feathers lightly over the surfaces of the reading desks and benches, disturbing as little as possible. It's a rhythmic, almost meditative task, the soft swish-swish of the feathers, a gentle counterpoint to the profound silence. You then use the cloths to meticulously wipe down the wooden lecterns, removing any lingering residue from yesterday's industrious scholars. Imagine trying to dust thousands of books by hand every day. It's a bit like trying to keep a sand dune perfectly smooth in a perpetual breeze. Next, you check the oil lamps. While daylight is paramount, some corners, especially deeper within the stacks, will require artificial illumination. You move from lamp to lamp, trimming the wicks, ensuring they are clean and ready to provide a steady, smokeless flame. You top up any that are low on lamp oil, a thick, clear liquid that smells faintly of olives. A well-trimmed wick and fresh oil are crucial, not just for light, but to prevent soot from blackening the precious manuscripts. A blackened manuscript is a sad manuscript and a sad librarian. You certainly wouldn't want to explain that to the emperor's chief scholar. Historians still argue about the precise type of oil most commonly used in Byzantine lamps, but you just know what keeps the wicks burning bright. You also perform a quick visual inspection of the manuscript storage areas. Are the heavy curtains pulled back to let in light, or drawn to protect from direct sun? Are any of the wooden storage boxes or shelves showing signs of damp or insect activity. You run your hand along a few spines, checking for any unusual texture or stickiness. The preservation of these texts is your sacred duty, a constant vigilance against the forces of decay. You might even discover a forgotten stylus or a stray piece of parchment left behind by a diligent scholar from the previous day, which you carefully set aside for retrieval. Finally, you attend to the reading stations. You straighten the benches, ensure that the small carved wooden reading stands are in their proper places, and make sure the small ceramic water jugs are filled for thirsty patrons. The quiet preparation of the library is a vital prelude to the day's intellectual activities. It's a process of setting the stage, ensuring that everything is ready for the scholars, scribes, and students who will soon arrive, eager to delve into the accumulated knowledge housed within these ancient walls. The library, once a slumbering giant, now slowly awakens under your careful touch. With the main hall dusted and the lamps prepared, you turn your attention to your own workspace, a small, well-lit alcove near one of the larger windows. This is your command center, the heart of your daily production. You carefully lay out your tools on the smooth wooden desk. First, the parchment. It arrives in large, rolled sheets, carefully prepared from animal skins, sheep, goat, or calf, painstakingly scraped, stretched, and smoothed to create a perfect, receptive surface for ink. You unroll a fresh sheet, feeling its supple texture, a testament to the skilled artisans who transformed hide into the very foundation of knowledge. Sometimes you even detect a faint, almost imperceptible animal scent, a quirky tidbit that reminds you of the very visceral origins of your materials. Historians still argue whether certain regions produced superior quality parchment. You just know a good sheet when you feel one. You then arrange your quills. You have a selection, each subtly different, some with finer points for delicate script, others broader for headlines or decorative elements. You might test a new quill, dipping its tip into a small pot of water to soften it, then trimming the point with your sharpened knife, shaping it to perfection. The act of sharpening a quill is a small art in itself, a delicate balance of pressure and angle to achieve a clean, sharp edge that will hold ink without blotching. You might even hum a little tune as you work, a quiet ritual to settle your mind before the day's painstaking task begins. Next comes the ink. You uncork the small vial of black ink, its surface a deep reflective pool. You also have a smaller pot of red ink, used for headings, initial letters, and rubrics, the instructions for liturgical services derived from the Latin word ruber for red. The contrast of the vibrant red against the dense black is not just aesthetic. It serves as a visual guide, breaking up the often monotonous blocks of text. You meticulously place your inkwells on the desk, ensuring they are stable and unlikely to be accidentally knocked over. A spilled inkwell is a disaster of epic proportions, akin to accidentally deleting your entire digital photo archive. The thought alone sends a mild shiver down your spine. You then retrieve the codex or scroll you will be working on today. Perhaps it's a damaged section of a rare theological work that needs careful recopying, or a new transcription of an ancient Greek drama. You handle it with utmost care, placing it on a sturdy, slightly inclined wooden stand, a lectern, designed to hold the manuscript open at the correct angle, saving your neck and back from undue strain. You also have a small, finely pointed stylus and a ruler, essential for lightly incising lines onto the parchment before you begin writing, ensuring your script remains straight and uniform. These lines are almost invisible once the ink dries, a testament to the precision of Byzantine scribes. Finally, you ready your erasers. Not the rubber kind, of course, but small pieces of pumice stone or fine-grained sand used to gently scrape away errors on the parchment. It's a tedious process, requiring immense patience and a very light touch, as too much pressure can damage the delicate surface. Sometimes you think the most important tool you possess is simply patience, alongside an almost superhuman level of focus. Your station is now fully prepared, a small, highly specialized workshop ready for the quiet, meticulous labor of transcription. Just as you settle into your prepared workstation, a gentle commotion sounds from the main entrance. This is the first delivery of the day, a crucial part of the library's continuous cycle. You stand and move towards the main hall, where a small group of library assistants, perhaps 2 or 3 young men, are carefully unloading a wooden cart. The cart, pulled by a sturdy donkey, is laden with a variety of parcels, each wrapped in linen or carefully bound with rope. This could be anything from newly completed manuscripts, fresh from the scribal workshops of Constantinople, to books returned by scholars who have finished their research. Historians still argue about the exact logistics of the Byzantine postal service, but you know these deliveries are remarkably reliable. You greet the assistants with a warm, if somewhat sleepy, nod. They too are early risers, having navigated the city's waking streets with their precious cargo. The air momentarily fills with the earthy scent of donkey and the faint sweet smell of fresh parchment, a much more pleasant aroma than some of the things you encounter in the city, like that fish market down by the Golden Horn. You oversee the unloading, making sure each item is handled with the utmost care. These are not mere objects, they are vessels of knowledge, each one potentially containing a unique fragment of human thought or history. The assistants begin to sort the incoming items on a large sturdy table near the entrance. Some are clearly newly bound codices, their covers of wood and leather still stiff and new. These might be fresh copies of classical texts, meticulously transcribed by teams of scribes, or perhaps entirely new works, theological treatises, legal commentaries, or even histories penned by contemporary scholars. You pick one up, feeling its weight, and carefully open it, running your eyes over the crisp, uniform script. The artistry of a skilled scribe is immediately apparent, each letter perfectly formed, a testament to hours of patient labour. Other items are returned scrolls, perhaps borrowed by a high-ranking official or a monastic institution. These need to be carefully inspected for damage before being returned to their proper place in the immense labyrinth of the library's shelves. You unroll a section of one, checking for tears, water damage, or, heaven forbid, a misplaced food stain. Honestly, you sometimes wonder if scholars think parchment is impervious to, say, a greasy thumbprint from their morning paxomadia. A type of Byzantine rusk, by the way. It's like they forget the 10-second rule applies only to floor crumbs, not ancient texts. Any damage is noted, and the scroll is set aside for repair, a delicate process you'll oversee later. This rigorous check is a vital part of preserving the collection, ensuring that future generations can access the same knowledge. There might also be loose folios or unbound sections of manuscripts, destined to be collated and bound into new volumes. This requires careful comparison with existing records to ensure nothing is missing or out of order. It's a bit like assembling a very old and important jigsaw puzzle, where some of the pieces might be missing, and you can't just Google the answer. Each delivery is a treasure hunt, a constant influx of new material to manage and integrate into the library's vast holdings. Your day, despite its quiet nature, is rarely dull. You've just finished the initial sorting of the morning's deliveries when you hear a soft shuffling near the main entrance again. Unlike the library assistants, whose arrival is a planned event, this is a patron, the first scholar of the day, eager to delve into the quiet world of knowledge. You turn, offering a welcoming, if still somewhat sleepy, smile. It's still quite early, a testament to this individual's dedication, or perhaps the urgency of their research. Historians still argue about the typical opening hours of the Imperial Library, but you know your regulars. This scholar is a familiar face, a monk perhaps, or a respected theologian, their robes modest but well maintained. They carry a small satchel, likely containing their own writing tablets, a stylus, and perhaps a small flask of water. You notice the deep lines etched around their eyes, a common sight among those who spend countless hours porching over ancient texts. They offer a respectful bow, a quiet acknowledgement of your role as guardian of this intellectual sanctuary. You return the gesture, a silent communication of mutual respect for the pursuit of wisdom. "Good morning, esteemed librarian," the scholar murmurs, their voice soft, almost a whisper, as if afraid to disturb the sleeping knowledge that surrounds them. "I hope I do not disturb your morning preparations." You assure them, with a gentle wave of your hand, that their presence is always welcome. "Not at all, venerable one. The library awakens with the sun. How may I assist your inquiries today?" The scholar's eyes light up, a flicker of intellectual excitement. "I seek the codex of John Chrysostom's homilies on the Gospel of Matthew, if it is available. I wish to compare a particular passage regarding charity with a text I am currently reviewing. Ah, Chrysostom. A popular request, his eloquent sermons and theological insights always in high demand. It's like asking for the latest bestseller, if bestsellers were painstakingly hand-copied manuscripts from centuries ago." You nod, a slight hum of recognition escaping you. This is a fairly mainstream historical fact. John Chrysostom was one of the most influential early church fathers, and his works were foundational to Byzantine theology. You even recall a quirky tidbit about his nickname, Chrysostom, meaning golden-mouthed, because of his incredible oratorical skills. Imagine trying to give a speech so good they rename you golden-tongued on YouTube. You lead the scholar to a nearby desk, already dusted and prepared, inviting them to sit. "Please, make yourself comfortable. I shall retrieve it for you." You might briefly inquire about their research, a small conversational bridge to foster a good working relationship. Understanding a patron's needs, even in this quiet environment, helps you anticipate future requests and provide better service. It's almost like being a concierge for knowledge, minus the tiny complimentary soaps. You turn towards the vast expanse of the library, your mind already sifting through the intricate mental map of its contents, pinpointing the likely location of the requested volume. The quiet rustle of your robes is the only sound as you begin your journey into the towering shelves. You leave the patient scholar settling at their desk, their anticipation a palpable, quiet hum in the vast space. Now, the real treasure hunt begins. You step deeper into the main hall, then veer into one of the labyrinthine corridors that branch off like arteries from the library's heart. These corridors are lined from floor to ceiling with wooden shelving units, each compartment meticulously labelled. This is where your years of dedicated service truly come into play, navigating the bewildering yet entirely logical order of the library. It's a bit like a mental map, honed through countless hours of shelving, retrieving, and simply being amongst these ancient voices. The air grows cooler, dustier, as you move further away from the main hall's open windows. The faint, earthy smell of old parchment becomes more pronounced, mingling with the subtle aroma of beeswax and the faint tang of aged wood. You pass rows upon rows of scrolls, tightly rolled and tied with linen cords, their simple papyrus or parchment labels facing outwards. Then come the codices, standing upright on shelves, their bound spines bearing handwritten titles in faded red or black ink. Imagine trying to find a specific book in a library the size of a small village, without a digital catalogue, just a series of handwritten inventories and your own highly tuned memory. This is your daily reality. Your mind works quickly, sifting through categories: theology, philosophy, history, medicine, law, rhetoric. John Chrysostom's homilies would fall under theology, specifically patristic writings. You recall the general section for the Church Fathers, then narrow it down to the golden-mouthed one. You might even murmur a few Greek phrases to yourself as you walk, a habit picked up from years of handling texts written in the classical tongue. K alpha lambda each ei mu a rho alpha. Good day. You think, as you pass the section on Homeric epics, a brief moment of appreciation for the sheer volume of linguistic history you are surrounded by. You arrive at the correct aisle, your eyes scanning the spines. The shelves here are tall, requiring a small, sturdy wooden step stool that you carry with you, or sometimes a permanently placed ladder for the higher reaches. You carefully climb a few steps, your movements precise and deliberate. Dislodging other books or causing a cascade is unthinkable. You run your finger along the spines, looking for the distinctive script of a known copyist, or the specific size and binding that indicates the volume you seek. Historians still argue about the primary organizational system used in Byzantine libraries. Was it strictly by subject, or did physical attributes like size play a larger role? For you, it's a blend of both, intuitive knowledge built on experience. Finally, your eyes land on the familiar volume. It's a mid-sized codex, bound in dark leather, its title slightly worn but legible. You gently grasp it, feeling the reassuring weight of the assembled folios. You carefully slide it from the shelf, ensuring not to snag any adjacent books. As you descend, you take a moment to briefly check the surrounding volumes, a quick visual inspection for any dust accumulation or signs of neglect. The successful retrieval is a small victory, a daily triumph over chaos. You turn, the requested wisdom now in your careful possession, ready to deliver it to the waiting scholar. With the John Chrysostom Codex cradled carefully in your arms, you return to the main reading hall. The scholar is still patiently waiting, perhaps already lost in thought, or simply enjoying the tranquil quiet that fills the library before the day's true bustle begins. You approach their desk, the soft rustle of the parchment against your robes, the only sound. "Here you are, venerable one," you say, placing the heavy volume gently before them. The scholar's eyes immediately fix on the book, a look of quiet satisfaction spreading across their face. They reach out, their fingers tracing the worn leather cover with an almost reverent touch. It's a universal moment, the connection between a seeker and the sought-after knowledge, unchanged by centuries or technology. They thank you with a sincere nod, already preparing their stylus and wax tablet for taking notes. You then return to your own workstation, the prepared quills and inkwells awaiting your attention. This is where a significant portion of your day, and indeed your life's work, unfolds. The painstaking process of transcribing texts. You unroll the manuscript you selected earlier, a rare philosophical treatise, or perhaps a section of a historical chronicle that requires a new, clean copy. The original might be faded, damaged, or simply in high demand, necessitating a duplicate. You dip your sharpened quill into the black inkwell, watching the liquid rise along the shaft. The first stroke is always the most important, setting the rhythm for the hours to come. You begin to copy, carefully forming each letter, replicating the script of the original with as much fidelity as possible. Your hand moves with a practiced fluidity, years of muscle memory guiding your fingers. This isn't just copying, it's an act of preservation, a bridge between the ancient world and the future. Every curve of a gamma, every precise loop of an omega, is a small, deliberate act of defiance against the slow erosion of time. The work demands absolute focus. One slip of the quill, one moment of inattention, and a blot could ruin a perfectly prepared sheet of parchment, a costly mistake in terms of both material and time. You maintain a steady, even pressure, ensuring the ink flows smoothly, neither too thick nor too thin. Your eyes constantly flip between the original text and your developing copy, checking for accuracy, ensuring no word, no letter is omitted or miscopied. It's a quiet, intense concentration, broken only by the scratching sound of your quill on parchment, a faint whisper in the vast stillness of the library. You might occasionally encounter a word or phrase that is unclear in the original, perhaps due to fading ink or an earlier scribe's error. This is where your deep knowledge of Greek, Latin, and often Syriac or Coptic becomes crucial. You ponder the context, consulting other reference works if necessary, a small intellectual puzzle in the midst of your copying. Historians still argue about the precise margin of error allowed for scribes in Byzantine scriptoria, but you aim for perfection, knowing that future scholars will rely on your faithful reproduction. It's like being a human photocopier, but with a much higher risk of carpal tunnel and a much lower risk of paper jams. And no, you can't just hit undo on a blot of ink. That's a modern luxury you can only dream of. As the sun climbs higher, casting brighter beams through the library's windows, you realize your stomach is beginning to rumble. It's a gentle reminder that even the most dedicated guardian of knowledge needs sustenance. You carefully set your quill down, wipe any excess ink from its tip with a soft cloth, and close the manuscript you've been copying. The quiet hum of scholarly activity in the main hall has grown slightly, a soft blend of rustling parchment, murmured conversations, and the occasional gentle cough. You leave your workstation and head towards a small, designated area, often a secluded courtyard or a communal room, where the library staff and some of the more senior scholars take their midday meal. The air here smells different, less of old paper and more of something earthy and warm. Bread, perhaps, or a simple lentil stew. Lunch in the Byzantine Empire isn't the elaborate affair of modern times. It's a practical pause, a necessary refueling for the body and mind. You find a quiet spot and unwrap the simple meal you brought from your room. A piece of dark, crusty bread, perhaps a handful of olives, and a small piece of salted fish or cheese. It's plain fare, but nourishing. You might wash it down with a sip of water from a shared ceramic jug, or perhaps a small amount of weak wine, diluted to prevent drowsiness. A librarian with a wine headache is not a productive librarian. Historians still argue about the exact dietary habits of the middle-class Byzantine citizen, but you know your body thrives on this simple, consistent diet. While you eat, you observe your colleagues. Other scribes, slightly older than you perhaps, or younger assistants, are also taking their break. They might engage in quiet conversation, discussing a particularly challenging passage they encountered that morning, or sharing a small anecdote about a peculiar request from a scholar. You mostly listen, savouring the momentary respite from the intense focus of copying. This shared meal is a brief, informal moment of camaraderie, a chance to connect with others who understand the unique demands and quiet satisfactions of library life. You might even hear a light joke, perhaps about a particularly illegible manuscript or a patron who requested a text that literally didn't exist. "I swear," he asked for a treatise on the digestive habits of griffins, one might whisper, eliciting a soft chuckle. It's a quirky tidbit of daily life, a reminder that even in the serious world of scholarship, there's room for a bit of humour. You don't linger long. The rhythm of the library calls you back. Your meal is eaten slowly, deliberately, giving your eyes and hands a much-needed rest from the meticulous work of transcription. You allow your mind to wander, to digest not just the food, but the morning's thoughts. Perhaps you think about the vastness of the knowledge contained within these walls, or the countless hands that have touched these same books over centuries. It's a humbling thought, a connection to a lineage of scholars and scribes stretching back to antiquity. You finish your last bite, brush the crumbs from your tunic, and prepare to return to your post, feeling re-energized and ready to face the afternoon's challenges. Refreshed by your simple midday meal, you return to your workstation. The library now hums with a gentle, consistent activity, a stark contrast to the quiet dawn hours. More scholars have arrived, their murmurs a soft counterpoint to the rustle of parchment and the rhythmic scratch of quills. The sunlight, now high in the sky, streams through the large windows, bathing the main hall in a warm ethereal glow, highlighting the dust motes dancing in the air like tiny, luminescent particles of ancient wisdom. It's a peaceful, focused atmosphere, the kind that makes you forget the chaotic city outside. You settle back into your chair, picking up where you left off, your quill poised over the parchment. The afternoon is often the busiest period in the library, a time when the pursuit of knowledge reaches its crescendo. Scholars are deeply engrossed in their studies, some poring over large unwieldy scrolls, others meticulously comparing texts on their reading stands. You might notice a small group gathered around a map, their hushed voices discussing geographical routes or ancient battlefields, a mainstream historical fact that underscores the practical application of knowledge within these walls. The air is filled with subtle sounds, the occasional turning of a heavy page, the soft clink of a stylus against a wax tablet as notes are taken, the faint whisper of a scholar reading aloud to themselves in a low tone to better internalize the material. Sometimes you'll hear the muted sound of a book being carefully pulled from a shelf, or the soft thud as it's returned. It's a symphony of scholarship, a quiet testament to the intellectual engine of the Byzantine Empire. You might even catch a quirky tidbit of a scholar muttering about a particularly tricky translation, lamenting the obscure vocabulary of some long-dead philosopher. Honestly, you imagine them thinking, did they intend to make this so difficult? Your own work continues, the meticulous act of copying. Your hand, though still steady, might feel the first subtle pangs of fatigue as the hours stretch on, but the rhythm of the work, the flow of the script, the unfolding of the text before you carries you forward. You become almost a part of the manuscript itself, a conduit through which ancient words are reborn onto fresh parchment. It's a meditative process, allowing your mind to drift while your hand performs its intricate dance. You're also constantly aware of the comings and goings of patrons. You might see a younger student, perhaps an apprentice scribe, carefully returning a volume to the wrong shelf, and you make a mental note to gently guide them to the correct spot later. Or a seasoned scholar might approach your desk with a question, seeking guidance on where to find a rare commentary or a lesser-known author. Your knowledge of the library's vast collection is, in many ways, its true catalogue, your memory a living index of its treasures. Historians still argue about the effectiveness of such a human-centric cataloguing system versus a more formal, written one, but for you, it's just how things are done. And honestly, it often feels more efficient than trying to find a digital file you saved 3 years ago with a vague title. The afternoon proceeds in this gentle, industrious hum, a testament to the enduring power of learning and the quiet dedication of those who facilitate it. The afternoon continues its steady march, and with it, the deeper explorations within the library. You take a brief break from your own copying to attend to a more specialized request. A senior scholar, known for his work on ancient Roman law, approaches your desk, his brow furrowed in concentration. He seeks a particular volume, not one for copying, but for intense consultation, a very old, very fragile codex containing fragments of Justinian's Digest. This is a mainstream historical fact, as Justinian's legal reforms were a cornerstone of Byzantine law and influenced legal systems for centuries. This isn't a quick retrieval. You know this volume is kept in a specially designated, secure cabinet away from the general collection due to its immense value and delicate condition. It's stored in a cedar wood box whose natural oils are believed to deter insects, a quirky tidbit of ancient preservation wisdom that has surprisingly stood the test of time. You carefully unlock the cabinet, the familiar clunk of the bolt echoing softly in the otherwise quiet chamber. You lift the box out, carrying it with an almost exaggerated care, as if it contained glass rather than parchment. The codex itself is smaller than many, but heavy with the weight of centuries. Its parchment is discoloured with age, a deep, creamy yellow, and some of the ink has faded to a faint brown. The binding, though repaired multiple times over the years, is still precarious. You gently place it on a clean, felt-lined surface on a special viewing table away from any drafts or direct sunlight. You explain to the scholar the need for extreme caution, demonstrating how to carefully turn the pages using a thin, smooth bone stylus rather than bare fingers to avoid transferring oils or causing tears. Historians still argue whether the actual daily handling practices of such rare texts were as rigorous as the ideal, but you, for one, certainly adhere to the highest standards. As the scholar begins their consultation, their head bowed close to the ancient text, you find yourself lingering for a moment, observing the delicate dance between reader and manuscript. You see the deep creases in the scholar's forehead as they decipher a particularly obscure legal term, or the way their breath hitches slightly as they uncover a crucial precedent. It's a profound connection to the past, witnessing the direct engagement with texts that have survived wars, fires, and the slow, inexorable march of time. You might even, quietly, allow yourself a moment to glance at a page, your eyes quickly scanning the familiar Greek script, perhaps catching a glimpse of a legal maxim or a philosophical aphorism. You understand that you are not just a custodian of these books, but a participant in their ongoing life, a facilitator of the dialogue between the living and the long dead. This direct interaction with such rare and ancient volumes is one of the quiet privileges of your role, a constant reminder of the depth and breadth